Hi, True Crime Grapevine fans. How are you doing? It's me, Patty Lee. How are all my partners in crime out there? All right. So today is tonight, it's 11:14 on Eastern Standard Time, is January. Look at me. I have to look at the date. I'm a dyslexic detective, and part of being dyslexic is time blindness, and I have that. Not every dyslexic has it. Dyslexia is just a difference in brain structure, and it tends to be more in the look at me, I have to do this. Directionality is an issue too, in the left side of the brain, which is more where logical procedural learning takes place. The right side of the brain, where creativity and big thinking and um like problem solving takes place. Haha, stronger side. So it's sort of flipped from opposite. Anyway, so if you see me looking at times and stuff, sometimes I have to check because I will forget the date and the day and the time. So it is the 12th of January. It is Thursday. Here's what's on the docket, as they say, or on the grapevine. Here's what we're going to be chatting about. Here's what people are talking about. So the Kohlberger secret sealing of his search. The search's secret sealing. Say that 3 times fast. That is being talked about more, even though it was done right as he was arrested on the 30th. But we're talking more about it, and he had his first status hearing, and interesting update about that. He's playing the long game. Hashtag literally. Lori and Chad, we have, so with Kohlberger, we have a secret sealing with Lori and Chad. They want a secret meeting, not so much secret, but they have one of their requests was to meet, and we're going to see how that shakes out, what Boyce says about it. But interesting reason why. Thank you, Lori Hellis, for giving me information about that from the law talking point of view. Brian Walsh, the Anna Walsh missing mom from Massachusetts, or Massachusetts missing mom, if we're going to go with alliterations tonight. And the Larry Miliete preliminary hearing, which that hearing is actually going, and I still can't find anything about Leilani's. She was supposed to have a hearing yesterday. Her prelim was supposed to start, or at least a status hearing for her prelim. There's nothing on it. I don't have Lexis or access to Lexis right now, which is a search engine that can get into more into all kinds of websites about law stuff and newspaper. People use it a lot. So I wish I still was in grad school because I could have access to that. We don't know what's going on. So I will keep my eye out as soon as something happens. I think maybe she's pleading. That's would be my guess why nothing's happening, or we haven't seen it. Either that or there's been some other delay because of some medical reason. Okay, so we've got Kohlberger, we've got Vallow, Daybell. I've got a dog barking upstairs. Sorry about that. We've got the Walsh, and lots to talk about that case coming out. And then Larry Miliete's prelim hearing, and our drink tonight. So our nightcap, I don't know if you can tell this. So I was suggested to get Crown Royal, and I don't really I shoot whiskey. I don't love the taste, but somebody said you need to try like a taste, especially peach. And I found it today. So, and the guy suggested that I could put it in iced tea with some peach mash, like just peaches mashed up. So that's what I've done. Before I take a sip of my drink, I thought I would show you. Look at my cute little bottle. Here's my bottle for peach. Here's my cute little orangey bag that came with it. And if you smell it, see it has a little crown? Isn't that cute? It smells just like peach. So let's just for a taste test, not because I want to get wasted, but it'd be funny if I fear just dropping this. Okay, there's a shot. Let's make sure it's all back in there. All right, pull my little bag up because we don't need more than 2 shots a night. All right, here's to the victims of the Idaho 4, to finding Anna Walsh, even though she's presumed dead. Maybe not, or let's just find her. To Maya Miliete, we need to find her. these missing moms are almost like it's a tragedy that's happening over and over again. And then, to JJ and Tyler. I have to make sure my glasses don't fall off my head. Bottoms up. Oh, definitely still whiskey. Oh, definitely still whiskey. Woo! But peachy. Let's see how it tastes in a drink. Little diluted, a little bit better for me because I'm a baby. All right. We don't have anybody in the chat yet, so that's good. Let me just say, it's been a day, you guys. I need to tell my kid to please get the dog. I'm live. Like anybody cares about what the mama's doing. We'll see. All right. So let me just say, the peach crown, Suzanne suggested it last night and the last time she was in the chat. Thank you, Suzanne. Love it. To anybody else, to everybody else who's listening, let's get on with our discussion. So the Idaho 4. The biggest thing that happened today was that Brian had a preliminary hearing, a status hearing as to what was going to happen next. Some people, we assumed that they would set a real preliminary hearing, which would decide if he would go to trial or not. And that did not happen. Why? Well, because his lawyer, speaking for Brian, and then Brian had to assert that he understood his rights when the judge asked him, because she asserted for him, and then he also agreed that he understood his rights, was that he wants to waive his speedy preliminary hearing. So in the law, there's always written a time for when the authorities have to do something by a time. And then there's also a response time for either the person who, in a criminal hearing, who's the defendant, or if it's a civil hearing, the party who's being served. In every state, it can be different, and there's different types of laws, and these dates are different. But there's these times that have to be met. And if they're not met, the person who would be discriminated against has to say, that's okay with me. I waived that. And we talked a lot about this with the Daybell trial, because Lori Daybell, since she's become competent, they figured out that it would be like until late February, that would be her 6 months that she would need to have her hearing, like her legal proceedings start, or it would violate speedy trial. And she did not, and she will not waive that. Now, her problem, or the court's problem, excuse me, is that that's a co-conspirator trial, and Chad has waived his speedy trial. She has not. His lawyer keeps wanting to separate the cases, and he seems to be using time to do that. But Judge Boyce has said, no, this is this case is together. You are co-conspirator, charge it together. It's going to be 10-week trial. We're moving it all to, Ada County and Boise. This is how it's going down. So with the Kohlberger, he's just by himself for now. Oh yeah, I'll tell you. I'll feed you baby birds, in the words of what's that guy's, the comedian. I'll let you know why I say that. So yes, Kohlberger has said he waived his rights. So now they set the date, June 26th. And that was at the suggestion of his counsel. So obviously they want more time. And I'm not a lawyer, so I don't understand all the strategy, but I know that school is out after June, and I think maybe they want students not in town when they start this stuff, because they want the heat to cool down a little bit and not to be so much a show of emotion when they have this preliminary. I am sure they're going to ask for a change of venue, because it is a very small area that almost everybody has connections to a university, either the Washington State University or the Idaho University. And so the killing of university students is going to be like probably a lot of people either know those students or know the students, like sisters and brothers who go to the Washington State University. It's I think they have a good case for moving the venue. So probably, and they're getting their ducks in a row, as it were. So we won't know anything. And there's a gag order on everybody involved in the case, not YouTubers and not journalists, but there's a gag order on any court person, any defendant, anybody on either team. So uh, the second part of the Kohlberger case that I wanted to address was this secret sealing that occurred December 30th as he was arrested in Pennsylvania. They were immediately serving a search warrant and searching his apartment and his office in Washington and Pullman. And that was sealed almost immediately. This is what's interesting to me. It is the language of the sealing that I don't really understand and that I think might have to do with perhaps when I said he doesn't have a co-conspirator, maybe there is somebody else. Why do I say that? Okay, so here's the language. Premature public disclosure of the details of this law enforcement investigation will create serious and imminent threat. So imminent means like time wise, like very, like right now, threat to effective law enforcement and could, and that's my emphasis, could create a threat to public safety. Now, what does that mean? Hey, if you are watching this, you could like and subscribe if you're watching it on replay. That would be great. I would really appreciate it. Hi, Kate. Hi, Kate the Great. You're always a good little watcher. Tell Woozy I said hello. I think it's Wozy because it's Posy. What is the imminent? I understand it would cause imminent danger to the case. They want to keep things quiet. Until there's disclosure, they don't want to let it. There is a strategy to not letting the defendant know everything that you know until the very last when you have to let them know what is in discovery. Oh, is she watching? Is Wozy watching us? Posy, can you say hi? Meow, 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 meow. Yes, okay. And with that, Mama needs a drink. So what is, I understand the imminent threat to the case, but the language of could, so right, they're qualifying it, not for sure, but could cause a threat to public safety. Okay. Are they talking about if people knew what Brian was doing in that apartment or in his office, they would either riot or panic? Like, would it send the whole community into like, how could this happen? Is that considered a threat to public safety, or is it that there's somebody else? That would be interesting. Why is that interesting? Well, do you remember when he was arrested, he said, am I the only one arrested, or did you arrest somebody else? And everybody said, oh, he's just trying to play mind games, which I think if somebody gets into your house at 4:00 in the morning and wakes you up out of a dead sleep by like ramming your house open, breaking doors and windows to get in, do you really think that you're thinking of, I'm just going to say this because this is going to make him crazy? I don't know if he actually thought that. Now, I first thought, and I still think that it's possible, it's a very distinct possibility he was talking about his dad, because his dad drove him across the country. Maybe he thought his dad would be in trouble. And there's also some corrections to be made there's a YouTuber that I love to death, but he was talking with a person who said Brian fled. Like he called his dad and left. Like he seemed to intimate that it was the day, it wasn't the host, but it was the host's guest, that Brian had left the day after. No, Brian stayed in town. And we talked yesterday. Was it yesterday? I do believe, let me make sure, about the fact that I think it was yesterday, right? That we talked about the fact he went to the medical unit, we learned, right? And didn't have anything on his hands. So not only did he stick around town, he kept a medical appointment. And I think it's important to mention that while they found him charming, nobody mentioned that he had anything on his hands. Now, maybe we just don't know that because that is information that the police want to keep. That's their information. And they don't want the public to know. But I find it odd that there was this release that, oh, he went to this medical appointment and basically they found him charming. Now we know that it's common for a killer to, when they've done what they've been thinking about, the tension is released. We've heard that he became more open, didn't care so much about grading, was more loosey-goosey, like happy. So was he charming? But we also heard he was charming on a date until he got alone with the girl and that was creepy, and just very awkward and weird. Does he know just how to behave in public and does that? I don't know. I just found it interesting. And then the other part of this language was, they said, for these reasons, the information contained in the application and the nature of this investigation must be kept secret for a limited time period. It is estimated that the investigation will likely be concluded within 2 months from this date. So it'll be about March 1st because it was December 30th. So an order sealing the file for this period of time is appropriate and necessary. So people are saying, oh, it's to protect the victims. I guess the victims' families, right? And the surviving victims. I guess. I don't know. The other correction to make that people are still saying is that all 4 victims were found, like, were killed in their beds. They weren't, because we know Xana was on the floor. And I wonder if the reason, and now there's even more reporting that the person who saw the DM, the person who saw the suspect leave the house from her bedroom that was, on the east side on the 3rd floor, right before the stairs going up to Kaylee and Maddie's, where Kaylee and Maddie were found. That person is said to have, she did faint. Like, she was trying to call. She couldn't. She was freaking out, fainted, and the other roommate was hyperventilating. And that's why somebody else was talking. There was an unsubstantiated Twitter account saying that the caller was Kelly, and they said DM's BF. And everybody was like, her boyfriend wasn't there and blah, blah, blah. I think the person meant her best friend. So that all kind of makes sense. Oh, how is the peach Crown Royal? If you missed my taste test, Miss Kate the Great, was very peachy. It did taste like whiskey because I shot one shot just without it being in the drink. I mean, it was like hot and strong like whiskey, but it smells and tastes. It is sweeter, much more palatable than just straight whiskey, which I just shoot and then have to rinse out my mouth. So was it strong? Yes. But did I immediately feel like, oh my gosh, I better rinse out my mouth because no. Definitely recommend. And then I will be doing a taste test with the apple Crown Royal I got. I'll probably put it in apple juice because I'm a baby. And then there's the vanilla. I don't know. Kate, should I do a shot of the vanilla? Why don't we try that since it's just you and I, sweetheart? Uh-oh. Maybe I won't be able to because I have no hand strength. Uh-oh. Okay. Kate says, yeah, but guess what, Kate? Mama can't do it. Maybe I can open the apple. That's a bigger. Oh, the apple opened right up. No, nobody's awake to help me. I can't just leave and go get help. Okay, here's the apple, people. Okay, I'm putting in half an ounce. No, it's almost an ounce. That's probably not healthy. All right, let me smell it. What is its bouquet? appley, like candy apple, like sweet, which I prefer, as you know. Okay, ready? One. I have to hold. Oh, my glasses aren't even on my head, so I don't have to worry about it. 1, 2, 3. Ooh, hot. I know I'm making my whiskey face. Oh, interesting finish. Again, though, these flavored whiskeys, I would say, don't make me immediately have to like go, oh my God, I need to rinse out my mouth. So, pretty good. I better watch it because this will make 3 shots and I won't be able to read or anything and I'll get silly. All right. So that is what we know about Kohlberger and the Idaho 4 case. And I stopped mid-sentence because I responded to Kate about if DM had a BF, what that was. Anyways, that is all unsubstantiated. And okay, thank you, Kate the Great. So we don't know, but we do know that Xana was on the floor, though, because in the affidavit, the officer says that. And it does make me think that I was correct in thinking that perhaps when DM left her room at some point, either she locked her door, we know that, and she went in her room. So how long did she wait in there before? I think maybe till daylight. Thinking, was that a nightmare? I mean, I've just had a couple shots and I'm already a little woozy or woozy. So maybe that was what happened. And then when she wakes up, she goes, and all she has to do is look down the hallway. And if she doesn't, maybe she immediately ran to Xana, but she saw her laying on the floor because the police officer could see her as he walked down the hall before he entered the room and saw Ethan as well. So I don't know if the blood was everywhere and she could see it, but I do know, I am sure she had a traumatic reaction, and that's why she went downstairs. And maybe she opened that front door at 8:30. I'm assuming it might have been around that time because somebody said they saw the front door open. Maybe she needed air. I am sure we will find out when this goes to trial. But as it stands, it'll be June 26th before we even get things started with the preliminary hearing. And look at me. I'm looking a little bit. All right. Oh, my mic went out for a bit, but it's fine right now. Oh, no. Who knows why? I am technologically deficient. All right, guys. So that's what we know so far about the Idaho 4 case. Again, we're not hearing a lot. It's all mostly supposition and, chitter chatter on the grapevine because there's a gag order. The Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell case. There was that alibi document that they filed, and they also filed this other document about wanting to meet together, which I didn't really understand. And so I didn't really discuss it much. But now Lori Hellis Wednesday night discussed it on her live Children of Darkness and Light. And she talks about she's writing a book about the Vallow Daybell case, but then she talks about all different crimes. And she's a lawyer. She was a defense lawyer. So she really knows what she's talking about from that perspective. And I like her commentary. And she explained that they wanted to have a joint settlement. And they want to discuss, she thinks they want to discuss a plea deal is what it's about. So I agree with that because I'm not a lawyer and she makes a lot of sense. And so that's what we have about that. So she said they have to agree. Some people were surmising, they want to talk about a divorce maybe. And she said, no, the judge, that you wouldn't, and especially Lori's lawyers they were provided from the state. They know what they're doing. There's no way that Judge Boyce would say, yeah, you can talk about getting a divorce. That doesn't make any sense anyways, because I believe in Idaho, we discussed this from the very beginning. There is no protection for being married. Like in some states, they have marital, where you can't testify against your husband or wife. And even in those states, I believe when it involves the death of a child, that doesn't, it no longer is applicable. So they're probably talking about a deal. And the deal is probably what can they agree to say because you have to do an allocution. And an allocution, when you plead, like you say, yes, I'm guilty. You can't just say, yes, I'm guilty, sentence me. You have to say, yes, I'm guilty. I did A, B, and C, and this is how I did it. And maybe this is why I did it. That's the allocution. So you can't just say, yeah, I did it, leave me alone. Because they don't want people just to plead guilty to stop the, like they don't want to be in court anymore. You really have to show that, yes, you did this thing. So because they're co-conspirators, they might be meeting to talk about, probably one of them wants to plead, maybe the other one doesn't, but how would this go down? What would they plead to? And what the prosecution is likely offering is life without parole. And maybe they're trying to get parole, but so they're trying to work that out most likely between the two of them, because there's probably a plea deal from the prosecutor's office, and it's on, what I mean? That's on the table, and they're trying to decide what to do about it. So I'm sure we will hear about that if there's anything to hear about, or otherwise, we're going to hear more motions in limine, and because they're going to trial in April, probably. Judge Boyce still has to rule on a few other things, including, what does he have left to it? Besides those things, he has to rule. John Pryor wants extension, which I don't think he's going to get. And it's already past January 9th. And we haven't heard if John Pryor got in his questions. I'm assuming he did, since Boyce was basically like, well, you can turn them in or not turn them in, but we're going to make the questions. We're going to get voir dire started. You can deal with it. All right. The Anna Brian Walsh, the missing mom from, I shouldn't have drank so much whiskey. We know they're from Massachusetts. I was trying to say the name of the town, Cohasset, Massachusetts. Very interestingly, so the more things go on, you get more chitter chatter from friends and relatives. So most importantly, we were confirmed. Unfortunately, the 3 children have been removed from the home, and they don't even think they can keep them together. They are in the system. They're in the Department of Children and Family Services. There is a group that's working to keep them together. Let's hope, because these kids, they are 6, probably 4, 3, and probably 6, 4, and 2. So every 2 years. I watched a live today. Again, if you are familiar with the true crime Grapevine, you know that I love Ickadmile. He is I watch all the YouTubers, and what I try to do is sort of get all that information, gather it all, and then I sort of synthesize it and try to give it back so that you can just watch one thing at night to see what everybody was saying instead of watching hours like I do. And we know that, let's see. So the kids are in the custody of the public, that system, which is unfortunate. And somebody's trying to, I forget what there was a woman who talked about she was trying to keep them together. So people are working to try to keep them together. Let's hope they get that done. But then other people were commenting how hard it is for people who do foster families to take care of 3 kids at once. Because sometimes there's not that many foster families. The system is burdened, and they already have some children. So to take 3 at once is kind of very difficult. And what they get paid is not enough to make up for what 3 kids need, nor the attention that they would need. So let's just all think good thoughts about that. So the other thing that came out was that she made some statements. Now, the people who said she made some statements are renters of the property that either she and her husband owned. They rented an apartment. It seems to be the apartment that she is now having known that she sold and for cash. And she said something to them of the effect of, there's going to be a big surprise in January. Now, A, this is secondhand. B, I don't know if she would really tell somebody this, but if she sold the apartment, even though they're renting it, and so they'd rent from somebody else, maybe what her news is, we do know that Brian was going to be sentenced soon because of his fraud of selling the fake Andy Warhol. And there was a little discussion on in Iked Mel's lives chat about what did it mean, like he was like making fakes is what it sounded like. And that's not exactly what happened. So there's international fraud, there's interstate fraud because he was in Massachusetts and the buyer was in California, and because they used the internet, it was wire fraud. So the international fraud was he got real Andy Warhols, these two shadows series paintings from somebody he knew or knew through somebody else, the owner who wanted to sell in South Korea. So the South Korean person sends him the two real Warhols. Brian takes pictures, and on the back of, he takes a picture of the painting, the product, the Andy Warhols. I don't even know if it was a painting or if it was multi-mixed media, but he then, on the back, there are often things prove the provenance, like if it's been looked at and approved to be an actual Warhol by there's a Andy Warhol committee group that only expertise will say, yes, that is an Andy Warhol. And like that was on there. Sometimes there's bills of sale that gets put on the back, or if it's been in a show. So there were things like that that proved its provenance on the back, because somebody in the chat was like, well, the person who bought it is an idiot for buying a fake. They didn't buy a fake. Not only was it held out to be an actual authenticated Warhol, but it was the pictures of the real Warhols, and on the back, all the authentication. So, and Brian really did have those from somebody. The problem is he did a bait and switch. He basically sold it twice. He sold it to the guy in California, and the guy in California, he wasn't an idiot. He saw the provenance. He looked it all up. It was all kosher. He got it. And he's like, wait, these don't match the pictures, which he had saved. So he didn't just like randomly buy stuff off, Etsy. He was like, okay, not accurate. And he had spent, $40,000, it seems like, about per piece. So $80,000. He calls Brian. He's like, these aren't the paintings. So he advertised. It was false advertisement. It was interstate because it was California to Boston. So that's a federal charge. These are all really bad. And the fact that he did have at one point the originals, and that's what he held up to be what was for sale. He has sold those again. So basically he had the real item. He sold it twice and just sent fakes to the guy in California. And somehow they don't know where the real ones went, somewhere overseas. I would guess 100% probably to Saudi Arabia, the why can I not say that? The Arab Emirates, we're really, really, really rich people who, maybe a Russian oligarch, but it went overseas. It's gone. Those two paintings now are in a private collection somewhere else. Hopefully the feds can track it. But that was what was keeping him at home under, he was supposed to be wearing a tracker because he was not allowed to leave. He had house arrest. He was only allowed to leave to take his kids to school and to make certain like grocery runs. He said, scuttlebutt, I don't know this for sure, but apparently he said the battery died. Doesn't that sound like an excuse? Oh yeah, my dog ate my homework. The battery on my tracker died. One would think, whatever. The problem is he was designated as a sociopath. I have my little book. Where'd I put it? Where I had 13 things to notice for a sociopath. And, that's right here. I marked. And so, I have 13 rules for dealing with sociopaths in everyday life. And maybe his wife should, the problem is you don't know a sociopath's a sociopath. She apparently, and then now we also have all this background of their domestic violence. In 2014, apparently she made a report against him when they were dating, and she was beat up. And oh no, I'm sorry, she was not beat up as far as I know. She said that he threatened to kill her and her friends over the phone. He was in Boston and she was somewhere else. But and then when it came down to it, she didn't want to press charges. And in by 2015, she was putting up an announcement that they were engaged, and 4 months later they were married. And we know that they have a 6-year-old. So timing wise, 2016, but we consider gestation, which is 9 months. Maybe she was already pregnant. I don't know what exactly happened, but her mom has reportedly now said, look, my daughter called me, right before Christmas, around Christmas, she wanted me to come. She said, can you come now? She was desperate sounding. And the mom was like, I'm 69. I'm in Serbia. I swear that's where she said, Serbia. I need to get my medicine together. I can't just buy a ticket. You know what I mean? Like it takes time for me to get my stuff together to fly there. And now she regrets it because her daughter sounded so desperate. So when I said that Anna had told these people, I have a surprise, people online were like, oh, maybe she was pregnant, which she had a 6, 4, 2. Maybe she was. But I don't think she'd be happy about that surprise. And I think Brian, his sentencing for this fraud was coming up. And I think sentencing doesn't mean just restitution. He was going to have to make restitution. But when they say sentencing, that means what you will get as punishment. And that usually means jail time. I mean, this was fraud, wire fraud, international fraud. He's in trouble with the feds. They don't mess around. So I think he was going away for a while. And I think her secret was she was going to get away too. She was going away, and not just for a while. She was going to get a life sentence of freedom away from Brian, who I think so if she, 2014, 15, 16, 17, 18, it's almost like 9, 10 years. I think she figured out, I married this guy. And I don't know if she was from Serbia I don't know how they met. I don't know if she was here working. I assume she was probably here either in school or working on a visa, meets this guy. He seems rich because remember, he was from a rich family. What year was it? They said the reason he had a fractured relationship with his dad and why his dad cut him out of the will, remember that he just went in, found the new will and destroyed it and then said, oh, there's no will. I'm the only living son. I mean, I'm the only living kid and relative. So I'm going to start selling stuff, which he did until he got to about the house. And then the nephew, who was the real heir, was like, no, 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 no. And somebody had taken pictures of the will that he had destroyed. I mean, he's a fraudster in the highest degree. Before that, he was in a real estate deal with his dad. I forget what year they said. And he took the house and lost, like he sold the house that he was doing this deal with his dad, sold the house and just took the money himself, took the cashier's check and took off and never spoke to his dad again. That was a house in Lenox, and I am not sure of the year. His dad died in 2018 and hadn't spoken to him for years, and he was traveling on a trip in India, so we know Brian wasn't involved in that. But when his dad did die and he got into the house, he sold Kandinsky's, Miro's, jewelry, everything, Persian rugs, everything of value before the nephew finally found out and was like, whoa, 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 whoa. Then the nephew went to court and he eventually he sold the house, the nephew, which he rightfully had ownership of anyways. But Brian Walsh, he's not a cool dude. And he fits exactly what the criteria in the sociopath next door is. It's not that they think they're going to get away with it. It's that they don't care. They don't care that they get caught. They're like, whatever. Oh, you caught me. I'll just do it again. They don't care. And that's really hard when somebody doesn't care about the rules. It's not just about trying to be smart and outsmart people. It's like, I'm not going to do this. I'm just going to do what I want. I'm going to steal it. I'll lie, whatever. And so imagine that Anna Walsh was with this guy. He was probably, and they're known to be charming at first. He was probably very charming. And he had all this money from the sale of the house that he stole when he was in that deal with his dad. apparently he had bought her and given her a Ferrari, I believe. Anyways, and I think that's one of the things she sold. Her friends were saying she was selling her assets for cash. I think we could only surmise he had beat her previously. And then I think she went out with her friends in Washington a week before this all went down and went out dancing with them. She had been going to Washington to do her work. It wasn't that she had always worked in Washington. She was moving her life slowly to Washington. And he knew he was up for sentencing. He knew that he was going down. I mean, the thing is, this is a selfish a-hole who realized the jig was up and what was she going to do without him? Oh, she would have everything. And he was like, nah, no, you won't. No, you won't. Her cell phone, the cops now have said it pinged in the house the whole time. And he erroneously, corrections corner, never did report her missing. Hmm. Guys, what do we know about people who don't report other people missing? Do we think that the people who don't report the people missing may have something to do with the whole missing? And then Ickadmel really hit on, and I thought it was Peabody too, but apparently it's Padiddy. It's where there's a waste management system. If you see it on the map, and please go watch Ickadmel's live from today about this case, because he had a great map about how from the home in Cohasset, if you go up to where he said he went to his mom's house, but he got lost, because you know how you get lost going to your mom's house. It happens, right? Maybe when you're drinking, but I don't think he was drinking. Went up to his mom's house, and her dumpster happened to have a compacting thing. Her dumpster would be emptied at the Padiddy Waste Management. And they did find today. So what did they find today? Cops found blood, I think bloody towels, a hatchet and a hacksaw, and that's what they found at the way. So they found evidence, but they have not found Anna. What did he do? I don't know. We are in the realm of Barry Morphew, Folus, is that his name? Folus Duplos. Who's the other? I mean, this is sad that we have so many missing moms and who we're going to talk about next, Larry Milioti. So even though there's no body, we know that there's trouble in a marriage. Something's, the woman is on her way out some way and suddenly disappears. And these all tend to be men, and people are like, why don't they just get divorced? Because these are people who see women as objects. They own them. They are theirs for whatever reason. I don't know if marrying him gave her a green card and then he felt even more so. But as a sociopath, he doesn't really care. And if he was going away, she was going away. I guarantee you. And he might explain it that way. Well, I'm going to go to jail. And why should she just be able to live her life? That's not fair. That's what a sociopath would say. They would be like, that's not fair. My life is ruined. She should have a ruined life being dead. It's simple as that, which is scary. It's not logical. It's not normal, but that's how sociopaths think. And this is all my opinion. This is alleged. Brian Walsh is innocent until proven guilty of whatever happened to his wife. Now, he has been found guilty in a court of law of screwing over his dad, screwing over his dad's will and cousin, and then screwing over another person with fraud. And that's what I know has been proven. So, but allegedly, it's all alleged that he had anything to do with his wife. So there's that. All right. So I would like to know, I need to know when he was going to be sentenced. I'm just assuming it was soon, and he wasn't going to let Anna have a life. I brought you here. Kind of that whole thing of, I made you, like, you're here because of me and I'll take you out. You know how people say to kids, I made you and I can take you out. I wonder if he didn't have that sort of mentality about her, her mom was from Serbia. I'm assuming she was from Serbia. She didn't sound like she had any family here. He sounded like, and oh, there was somebody in the chat. I'm not going to say the person's name. I mean, it's not their real name anyways, but they were like, women should know. It's her fault. She didn't get away. She wasn't even married to him yet. And okay, girl, number one, I don't know, but you have to use your abstract, put on your little abstract thinking cap, tie it tight, and try to get into another person's perspective, even though it's not your life. What if she was from a dirt poor country and came here and this was where she wanted to be, the land of opportunity, and the guy started out looking good, and then he said some crazy shit, but he was going to make her, and was, like, he was really sorry. We know how this goes. You can't treat every woman, especially from other cultures. We don't know who she was and what her background was, but you can't treat them like they're an American. Like, you can't treat anybody like you think, oh, they should know. Because the person was like, well, I got away at the first signs of abuse. Well, good. And people should, because we all know if they threaten to kill you, serious enough that you make a police report. If, you know what I mean? If they strangle you, if they, what, you don't even tell them you're leaving. You secretly get your shit together, get your kids together, you get the F away, and you deal with the legal stuff later. You don't tell them, because the minute you tell them, that is when it's most dangerous. And you hide for a while. You get a lawyer to talk for you, and you hide, and you get protection all around you. That's what happens in these cases. Sure. But I don't think she had that in her head. And we're not going to victim shame. So what can we learn from this? Okay, we can learn that if somebody is like that when you date, please don't marry them, even if they have a great future, but I don't know how bad her situation was and how desperate she was. And I can't say that. I mean, we all know if someone is showing signs of that, they're probably not going to change. But again, he was a sociopath. They're known to be super charming. All right. The Larry Miglietti case, second day, sister was on the stand. Mary Chris. It was emotional. It was pretty amazing. We learned pretty much what she said publicly beforehand. And my dog's going crazy. So, and it's already midnight. So I'm going to cut this a little bit short. But anyways, I'll tell you more about that case, because guess what? She's on the stand again tomorrow. So anyways, you guys, True Crime Grapevine, Patty Lee, your dyslexic detective. I have to say goodbye. I do highly recommend the Crown Royal. Suzanne, excellent nightcap suggestion. Please please subscribe. I'll be back tomorrow night. Bye. Okay.